This is Newsmax, where we have not called the election. Why would we? We do not know who has won. This whole idea of a president-elect, it is a media fabrication. The results have not been certified. Joe Biden at one point promised he would not declare victory until the election was certified. That has not happened. The electors have not met. We do not have a president-elect. Mainstream media, they are so anxious to call it a day, to move on. I'm not sure why. He's very good for business, mainstream media. But no, and I would not bet against Donald Trump here. The media have been doing that since day one. Who are you going to go with, Donald Trump or the mainstream media? They told us he would never be a candidate for president. They told us he would never be the nominee. They told us that he would never beat Hillary Clinton. They told us that he was some sort of a Russian spy. They wasted our time for 2 years on that. And they told us that he would be blown out in the 2020 election by Joe Biden. Those polls were fake. It was so fake. Who are we going to believe at this point? Mainstream media actually squandered their credibility long before Donald Trump got into politics. The Iraq War, anybody? Weapons of mass destruction? They've got big problems, and they wonder why we don't believe them. Pretty amazing, actually. Do not count President Trump out. He's not conceding. He's got the resources to fight. And by the way, they deny it, but there is evidence, very intriguing evidence. Now, you may or may not have heard at this point about Dominion, the voting systems company, mainstream media doing their best to ignore Dominion and their problems, or try to make anybody who is talking about it and reporting on it and engaging it some sort of right-wing kook. But I want to take you to last month. PBS, the NewsHour, used to have Jim Lehrer and Robin McNeil. Now I think it's Judy Woodruff. They had a beautiful story about the problems surrounding voting, particularly in Georgia, and Dominion voting systems. Listen to this.
I'm worried that the Georgia system is the technical equivalent to the 737 MAX. They've just made a last-minute software change that might well have unintended consequences and cause even more severe problems on Election Day.
Small portion of the report by Miles O'Brien. That was a computer science professor from the University of Michigan. Miles happens to be one of my favorites. Haven't seen him in a long time, but he knows it's his stuff when it comes to science. Look, there's a lot here. We'll play more of that, and we'll have Sidney Powell in the next segment. She is one of the lead attorneys for President Trump, and she's all over the situation with Dominion. So here at Newsmax, we're not calling this election, and I think I should tell you a little bit about me and how I'm approaching this show. I am pro-Trump, and I make that quite clear. This is an opinion-based show. I lean conservative. I like Donald Trump because of his policies, and I also like Donald Trump because of his style. Yep, I do. I like the tweets. I find them refreshingly honest and candid, and I hate the phoniness that has been politics all of my life. I like it. I know a lot of Republicans say they don't like it, but I do. So I would not vote against him, or bet against him, I should say. But I didn't vote against him either. I also want to make this point. I'm very grateful to America, to the United States Marine Corps, because this made me a different type of media presence. For my first, 9 years after college, I was in the Marine Corps. I couldn't confront the President of the United States. He was about 80,000 ranks above me, and I wouldn't. Have you seen the White House when they have 25 and 26-year-old people questioning the President of the United States? I think you need a bit more seasoning than that. I do. There's something wrong, and they all kind of think that they know more than this president. It's a real problem for them. I think they all need to step back a little bit and reevaluate how they're doing their job. Am I being unfair? I don't think so. I am so grateful that I did not grow up in this media ecosystem. It's one of the reasons why I was able to make some pretty interesting and unique observations about Donald Trump that no one else, virtually no one else in the media, were making. Do you remember when he started his campaign for president? He came down the escalator, June 16th, 2015, I believe. The mainstream media thought this was a total joke. They did not take him seriously. They thought he was a clown. And they reported it that way. Front of the Daily News, clown runs for president. And it wasn't just the tabloids. The New York Times, the most gifted political reporter that they're all excited about, Maggie Haberman, who's pretty smart, by the way, but this is what she wrote that day. If Mr. Trump could buy a state with an early nominating contest like New Hampshire and brand it with his name, it might help. She gave him no chance, and that was an attempt to be funny, and that's fine. I was actually in the room that day. Total fluke. I was on my way home. There was an event on my way home. I knew some people, and there I am, about 4 rows back with my co-anchor at the time, Rosanna Scotto. Right after the president gave that big, long speech, one of the cameras approached me and said, "What do you think about Donald Trump and what he just said?"
I think he might be a game changer in this race. Listen to that speech. It's going to go over well in certain precincts in Iowa, New Hampshire. This is a big deal. This is not a joke.
Again, I have that, I don't know, that perspective because I did not grow up in the media ecosystem. And like I think most of you, I take Donald Trump seriously and not literally. And that's the key. I don't know who said that first, but if you take him seriously, not literally, that's the key to understanding Donald Trump. Most in the media, they take him literally, not seriously. They're always looking for some soundbite to use against him, but most people don't look at the world that way. They just take it all in, and then they make their conclusions. Never be part of the pack. And I'm telling you, I wasn't part of the pack then. I'm not part of the pack now. I really believe that Donald Trump has a chance to turn this all around. We'll have more to say about that because if it happens, the media, they've got to start preparing. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill today, they had Zuckerberg and Dorsey, the guys from Twitter and Facebook. First, I know people, these guys are not popular right now with a lot of people, and not with me. However, I do like their products. Facebook has brought me closer to people I haven't seen in decades. My friend Eric Busey, he's like my faith advisor now. I went to high school with him, and Facebook brought us together. And Twitter, getting your word out there, it's great, except when we're censored. And we know that's happening. This technology that they created might be too big for them, and maybe we got to take it away. I don't know. But Ted Cruz, Republican of Texas, he has been absolutely brilliant on this issue. So they can't have these guys on Capitol Hill in person, but they did the whole virtual thing. It was still great.
Facebook and Twitter and Google have massive power. There was a time when Democrats embraced and defended the principles of a free press. And yet there's an absolute silence from Democrats speaking up for the press outlets censored by big tech. There's an absolute silence for Democrats speaking out for the citizens silenced by big tech. Instead, there is a demand, use even more power to silence dissent, and that's a totalitarian instinct that I think is very dangerous.
Here's an analogy. Thomas Edison, when he came up with electricity, can you imagine a scenario if Thomas Edison only allowed people that he liked or agreed with politically to tap into the power grid and use his electricity that he was providing? That wouldn't have flown, right? I know it was a quasi-public company, but if he only gave it to people he liked or agreed with politically, that would be a big problem. I think we're in the same situation with Twitter and Facebook and big tech. They are censoring, and it's totally outrageous. And it's a private company, yeah, but if they're going to do this, I don't think it works. I don't think it works at all. More from Ted Cruz, and here he is challenging Jack Dorsey. The beard has gotten a little much, but he's the guy in charge of Twitter.
And Twitter's position is essentially voter fraud does not exist. Are you aware that just 2 weeks ago in the state of Texas, a woman was charged with 134 counts of election fraud? Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that.
If I tweeted that statement with a link to the indictment, would you put a warning on it that says, well, the Democratic Party position right now is voter fraud doesn't exist?
I don't think it's useful to get into hypotheticals, but I don't believe so.
Interesting, huh? He didn't have many good answers today. Somehow Twitter justified it in their heads to basically keep the bad news about Hunter Biden off their platform in an effort to protect Joe Biden during a very critical moment in the campaign. That is censorship. It is totally intolerable, and this has got to be fixed quick. That was probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. This is bad, but it's not as bad. It's personal to me, and I want to tell you about it. Facebook, a while back, I think they own Instagram. Anyway, Instagram censored me. Okay. Have you ever heard of the Tribute in Lights here in New York? On September 11th, it's a beautiful tradition. 2 beams of light shot up into the sky to remember those we lost on September 11th. Great, great tradition going back to 2002. Well, this year they were going to call it off because of COVID concerns. A lot of us did not like that. The mayor seemed to be very much on board with this tribute going away. Right around the same time, he was in front of Trump Tower painting Black Lives Matter in front of the building. A lot of us thought this was silly, and I saw this really brilliant meme on Instagram, and I retweeted it, whatever, you know, like not like it was mine, but here it is. According to Mayor de Blasio, this is okay. See that? There he's painting. But this is not. Okay, just a meme. And I put it up on my Instagram, and I thought it was pretty cool, and I didn't think anything of it. You know, I enjoyed it for a little while, get some likes or whatever. Friend let me know that they saw my Instagram profile, and look at this. False information reviewed by independent fact checkers. What the heck's going on? How can that be? I clicked on the why, and this is what they said. False. Bill de Blasio was not responsible for the cancellation of the Tribute in Light. Okay, number one, I wasn't saying that. I was saying that he did not use the power of his office to keep the lights on. He was a bystander. He was doing other things. And by the way, what business is it of theirs what my views are here? Stay out of it. They messed with the wrong Marine, by the way. Take a look at this. I went a little bit nuts. Who the hell gave the dispatch authority over my Instagram post? Their fact check even includes a factual mistake. Dispatch, stay the hell out of it. Can you read all that? Yeah, there it is down there. See? There you go. It's true, by the way. They actually misspelled cancellation. Okay? The fact checkers misspelled cancellation. Give me a bloody break. Finally, they let me put it back up with a warning. Partly false information reviewed by independent fact checkers. They don't know what they're doing. Twitter, Facebook, they're not election experts. They don't know anything about New York City politics, and that's what they do. And they try to fact check people like us, people like you. They get it wrong. They should stay out of it. It should be a free and open platform. Let the public decide, right? Let the public decide. Here's what concerns me right now. The networks and the mainstream media, they are so invested in Donald Trump losing because, well, they said it a week and a half ago. They keep writing it, that we're all a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists, and this thing is over. It's not, and it could be reversed. And that's where it potentially gets dangerous. So I think it was a week ago Saturday when they called it for Joe Biden. They have no business calling it for Joe Biden, but they did. All bells and whistles. And in my neighborhood, there was actually a celebration. Turn up the volume and take it full.
They're celebrating because they think Biden won. Networks are calling Pennsylvania for Biden.
But it doesn't work that way. Notice something. You hear the pots and pans, that's fine. All good. Nobody's rioting in the streets. Nobody's rioting in the streets, okay? For a while there, the Trump side thought they lost, okay? But they looked at it a little bit closer and realized, no, this is not over yet. Here's what I'm worried about right now. They've got to start preparing the public for this thing being reversed. I have noticed that the public, they understand that on some level because the boarded up shops, they're still boarded up. This thing is not over. And the media, the mainstream media, they should be responsible and get people ready for a potential reversal. You're not the authority on this one. Anything can happen.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV because we're real news for real people.